Candy County Board of Commissioners, County Commissioners meeting. At this point, I would like to open the Candy County Truth and Taxation meeting. And the Truth and Taxation meeting is a public hearing. Also is being live streamed, and I'd like to welcome all those individuals that may be watching at this point or watching it later on YouTube. Thank you for your interest in Candy County government, as well as the people here in the audience. So thank you for coming tonight. But before we open it to public comments at this point, I'd like to call on Candy County Administrator, Mr. Larry Kleindahl, to give us some updates and overview of the budget process to this point and where we're going further.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Larry Klein. I'm the County Administrator. I'm happy to be here tonight to give you an update on about the budget and the budget process. This meeting tonight is being held to give taxpayers an opportunity to voice their concerns over the proposed 2023 budget. It is not a taxpayer forum to appeal their market value, the individual properties, or proposed tax amounts. So tonight what I want to kind of do is I want to kind of start out by giving you what the budget process was. The board has been involved in the process for some time. We actually start our process, well, we actually never end our process. The budget process is always ongoing. But to officially start the budget is we started in May. We have Karen Anderson go through and put all the benefits and salaries in all of the departments. Then the packets are distributed to all the department heads around the third week in May. And so then the department heads get their budget. Their job is to go through it and put what their expenses and income revenues are going to be. And they have until about the middle of June to turn them back into myself. And so once I receive them, then I go through each one of the budget areas with the department head, and we talk about where the expenses are. What are some of the driving factors? What is making the budget go where you're asking for the tax that we did this year, and what are some big things that may be coming up in a year or two, so we can kind of plan for that. So when we do the budget process, we look at a multi-year budget. So it's like you at home. If you know that your stove is getting old, you know that you may have a burner that's starting to go out, you might want to start planning for it and start thinking, how do we replace it? We do the same thing, just on a little bigger factor. Then after I've gone through the budgets with the department heads, I sit down with the chair and vice chair county commissioners to kind of get an idea of how they're feeling with where we're coming in at. We have discussions about, yeah, this looks like maybe we needed some adjustments there. And then we have a full work session where the entire board meets with selected department heads. We go through, again, get the budget presented to them and talk about driving factors, not only for the upcoming year, or what might be coming up in years in advance. So that's after that, we have some time to think about it. I bring it back to the county board meeting in September, and then you guys certify the initial budget. When you certify it in September, the budget can go down between September and December, but it can't go up. So whatever you lock it in September, that's the maximum. And that's what you did on September 6th. Now tonight is the Truth and Taxation hearing, as I talked about. And tonight I explained to the public what the budget is, but this is not the first time you've heard about this budget. But this is your opportunity, after you have had time to review it, to look at it. Then after tonight, the board can decide whether they want to certify it tonight or they can do it at a future board meeting. By law, it has to be certified by December 30th. So, Mr. Chair, that was the process. Any questions about the process?
Mr. Kleindahl, if I interrupt, please, do you have any extra budgets? A few more people walked in. If they.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good thing you made all those extra ones. Be easier to follow along. That's all of them, right? Yes.
So that's what I got.
Okay, good try. Thank you.
I
Please
could take some
please
from
proceed.
that you
Yeah,
guys have
we could
had
give one up, but
extras.
I don't think so.
All right, so to give you a little background before I go into details, so we're doing a balanced budget for 2023, it's a proposed balanced budget. We are planning to use several different areas to help work the levy through. We're going to take we're proposing to take $600,000 out of reserves from the landfill to help pay for the replacement of the berm and the fence along Highway 71. That saves about 1.6% on the proposed levy. Without that, the levy would have been even higher. So one of the things we do when we do our budget is we look at what are we do, can we use for reserves to help pay for things, to pay things down? What are some areas we can cut? We look at that. And the other part is where do we need to increase revenue and stuff to bring it forward that way? We're receiving an additional $111,634 in county program aid. County program aid comes directly to the counties. It was an agreement made in the 80s about if the counties and local units of government would take on certain tasks that you'd be paid for services for doing these services. So we use our county program aid 100% dollar for dollar for tax relief. So our full county program aid in 2023 is $2,476,130. Like I said, that's a $111,000 increase. Health insurance in 2023 will increase by 5%. If you'll notice a difference in the budgets from time in certain areas, you'll see that in some areas the insurance went up and sometimes it goes back down. That's basically what the employees choose. Sometimes they choose not to take family insurance, sometimes they opt out, and maybe some staff, their significant other or someone has different insurance, so they opt out and so the insurance goes down in that way. Or they may not opt in a different program that's not as expensive for the county. Wages for 2023 is 2%. And so that COLA is set. Do you have a question?
No.
For 2023? Okay. 2023, so that's 2%. And so the proposed levy that we've shown to you today is at 2.9%. And that's an increase of a net levy of $1,026,666. You'll notice that when we go through it, the capital equipment is the same last year. The building fund over the next 2 or 3 years, as you noticed, we talked earlier today about the heat pumps for the Health and Human Service building and Law Enforcement Center building. And that's our capital equipment and planning. We've been doing that over years. What we've been trying to do for the last 10 years is really plan for our infrastructure needs. And so as we see things coming up, how do we slowly build our funds so that when that, like the roof for the Law Enforcement Center, so when that comes up, you don't have to all of a sudden scramble to make $3 million. You put it in there, and so when it happens, you have the money there, you can pay for it. Kind of like I talked to you before about how we do it with all the wages. We budget very conservative over all of our revenues. As you know, for the last 3 years, our interest rates on our funds have been very low. But I think that'd be something that's an area that you guys will be watching for. As you go through in years to come, I won't be here, but watch those interest rates, and that might be areas that you can look at, help you decrease the levy request. Our dividends that we get from the Minnesota County Insurance Trust over the last 7 years continues to decrease. And so those are funds that we used to be able to, the dividends we used to be able to count on to help offset some of our expenses, but those revenues are decreasing because of the cost of doing business for the insurance trust. Driving factors that we're seeing, you see all across, is we're seeing a big increase in meth use in Kansas County. that has a big impact on, directly on a county program levy because of out-of-home placements for children, community corrections costs, county attorney's costs, law enforcement investigations, and just people not being able to hold on to their jobs, and so it also affects businesses. We're starting to see a turnover of staff and finding qualified staff. I think that's going to be that has a financial challenge. Anytime that you need to go out and recruit and start finding employees, that there's an expense to do that. There's expense in training your employees. And so those are some other driving factors that we're looking at. Some of the breakdown is, before we go through, where does your tax dollar goes? As you look at your tax statement that you received in the mail in November, the breakdown is this. Of that percentage, 46.6% goes to the county. School districts get about 23.5%. Cities, townships, and stuff increase about 23% of that amount. The state general tax is 5.1%. And then all the others was 1.8%, and that includes the HRA, the EDA, Minnesota, and stuff like that. Any questions so far? All right. Go to the budget. If you look on page 1, the overall budget is proposed budget is $83,868,400. You'll see in our expenditures, first and family services, our expenditures is going to $20,903,500. Road and bridge is $22,313,300. The general fund, and for those who are in the public and those who are watching, the general fund is all the programs except for public works, the landfill, and family services. But everything else, like your auditor, treasurer, recorder, your administration, environmental services, public health, and stuff are all in that, and community corrections. And there's the sheriff's office, dispatch, and correctional officers. And that, for general fund, is $31,842,900. The solid waste is your landfill and your score fund, and that's $5,308,000. The library, excuse me, the library is $401,000. The library expense, and the library expense is the operation. That's the heating, it's our maintenance of the building, and that is $59,200. The county building fund, that's all the expenses, as I talked about earlier, about the maintenance of the buildings, and that includes every building. It includes buildings in the parks, it includes this building, law enforcement, rescue, the household hazardous waste, the landfill. It's all the properties, and that's $1,841,000. The capital equipment fund is $1,053,100. The health and human service building, that's the operation of this building, and the maintenance in this building is $146,400. And then community transit is now within the general fund. Any questions on the expenditures? As you go through, you'll notice, if you go on page 3 and 4, and you see the increases, that's your revenue and your expenses total. So there's some things we can charge fees on, that we pull down income, and that offsets our expenditures. And so when you look at your budget, this is the true cost of what the difference is to get our levy. And so you'll see when you go through the line items, what the differences are. And I'll say, again, the major increases in any line item that you see is due to salary and benefits. And so that's the biggest one. I will point out for community health, as you recall, Ms. Lippert talked about We used to do vaccinations and stuff, and we lost one of those contracts, and so that was a loss in revenue, about 120-some thousand? 120-some thousand. And so you lose that revenue, and it still stays local, but we're not getting it, so we have to make that up somehow. So that's a big change on the line item. The sheriff's budget it increased about $211,000. Again, we have a lot of salaries and costs in there. But that we also have the equipment, the ammunition and stuff like that has gotten really expensive. The vest that they're required and the vehicles that they drive. I not seeing any major drivers. County parks, you'll see a decrease of $71,900 on page 4. In 2022, you guys raised the rates for the county parks. That helped us bring in some revenue. That helps us lower your expenses. Mr. Chair, any questions?
Any questions, commissioners? I'd like to add to the public that we're not asking a lot of questions because we've been over this many times. So, but we can still have questions because this is our last probably chance to review this.
Correct.
And we can only lower the budget and we can't raise the budget.
That is correct. So if there's no other questions, maybe I'll step aside and see if there's any, if the public may have questions,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
All right.
And I'd be glad to answer the questions they may have.
Thank you, Administrator Kleindahl. At this point, this is a public hearing, and I would like to open to public comments. The board is here to listen, to hear any feedback or anything you wish to say. We ask that you give your name as for the record. Legally, we have to do this, and your address. Also, we ask that you try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, if you will, please. And we also would reserve the right to ask you some questions for clarifications. So at this point, is anybody interested in making any comments to the board about the budget? Well, good evening.
How you doing, Corky?
Good to see you.
Ron Christensen, 1912 Richland Avenue, Southwest in Wilmer, Minnesota. How you doing, Mel? Riley? And you.
It's kind of like a home week in a sense.
Yeah.
Okay, please
Old home week
proceed.
is right. We had quite a long conversation out in the hall with the gals at the table,
Sure.
along with a few other people. And we were under the impression we could ask questions about taxes and or valuation. They said we could not, because this is the truth and taxation hearing. But on the bottom of it, it says, this time is to provide feedback on proposed levies is now. Well, part of the levy is taxes on us, the public, citizens. My question to them out there, my first question was, what is the total amount of dollars that the county is bringing in with this 2.7% increase on our property taxes? You know, the city gets, I don't know, 17 to 20% of the tax dollar. The county gets how many cents out of the dollar? Can you tell me?
Yeah.
And along with the county, along with the school district, how does that break out?
What percent?
Yeah, and it's breaks out right here.
My hearing isn't good. so-
Okay, so I'll point it out for you.
Mr. Chair,
So
Okay, here we go.
46.6 is county.
Yeah.
School districts is 23.5. Now, it could depend on what part of the county. For school districts, every school district has their different levy. So but this in general, this is what kind of the breakdown is. Cities and townships is around 23% total levy increase. City Hall do the TIF, including this year. That has a very little impact, but the state general tax is 5.1%. All their tax districts is 1.8%.
Okay, can I have this, or?
No, this is my work, my talking
Okay,
notes.
okay, so let me-
I can give them to you.
Just for the benefit of the public, the county gets 46.6 cents out of every tax dollar that we pay. The school district gets 23.5 cents, and it looks like the city gets 23 cents out of every tax dollar. So the county's getting twice as much as the school district and the city.
Correct, and we're
Out of
a little
the
bit
tax-
larger too.
Out of the tax dollar.
Yeah.
So when you raised it 2.7%, you're raising more money.
Yeah,
You're raising more money than because of the breakdown of getting 46% of it, or 46 cents out of every tax dollar. My question to them on the hallway was, with all the increased property taxes, our home tax went up $600, our personal home. And I know the rest of the neighborhood did, and they're mostly retired people, and so they're not going to come to a meeting like this. But what's the total dollar increase to the county from 22 to 23 because of the increased property taxes?
$1,026,666.
That's what it brought in at 46?
That's what, no, that.
Above and
no,
beyond
no,
22.
That's what we're increasing it. The total is the 83 million. This is,
Correct?
so then we take the county program aid, we might subtract the county program aid. So the total amount that we need to levy is $36,362,370.
That's property taxes, so you got to levy. Correct, to meet the budget that you passed.
Yes.
Now, you can lower the budget, but you can't increase it.
Yeah. So my question, do you have any questions about the budget, that the items we budgeted this year? That's what this meeting's about.
That was my main question. How many
Okay.
dollars increase?
For sure.
That has to do with the budget.
Yeah.
It doesn't,
absolutely.
it
Yes,
it
it
does in
does.
my world
It
and
does.
and everybody else here. We're here because of the increase in property tax values. I understand it because of inflation.
Yep.
But the assessing department needs to go out and do their due diligence in some of these homes. I mean, we've got a couple here that we can't discuss evidently because this is truth and taxation only. They're overvaluing property. And I understand we come in April to discuss valuation.
Sure.
Not taxes, but valuation.
Yep.
We come here out of frustration,
Yeah.
as you can understand. It's going to cost me $50 more a month to live in my house. That $50 is spread 46% to the county and 23% to the city and school district. Yeah, we're just frustrated, and the way the world is going these days with inflation, I can't tell you how frustrated people are. And they don't come to this meeting because they think they'll have no effect. So I'm giving you the frustration of a lot of people, not just myself.
Okay, well, thank you very much. You have gone beyond your 3 minutes, but please sum it up, would you?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
I have another concern, and what part of the budget increase is wages and benefits? Because I know that they all go up every year.
The response is almost all of it. You know, and we know if you look, and everybody hates taxes as well as we do too.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You know, and with inflation, and we know we're trying to keep up, and actually inflation has gone up 8-9%, and we set a budget at 2.9.
So the majority is wages and benefits, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
But we're also bidding out, you know, contracts. We just run into that all the time.
Right,
And,
right.
and roads and bridges and stuff, and they're not coming in, let's say,
No,
under. You
I'm in
understand
that
too.
industry, I know.
But,
Thank you for allowing me to
Well-
speak, and thank you for doing your
and thank you for
diligence.
coming to our meeting too. I appreciate your interest in Candido County government.
Thank you.
And you're more than welcome to contact myself or Mr. Kleindahl or any other department heads for other follow-up. Okay. Okay, please
Yeah,
proceed.
could I just say one thing? We were just at a district meeting for Association of Minnesota Counties, and I thought we were kind of on the lower end of what budgets were going up. A lot of counties are going up a lot more, and a lot of it was because of health insurance costs going way up, and then also contract negotiations with unions. And we're fortunate enough we didn't have to go through those negotiations this year, but I think next year we're going to have to. So 2.9, I think I think we're fortunate this year, and next year is what I'm really concerned about. So
Okay, at this point, anybody else would like to make any comments we're really here not to debate with you at all, and just we want to listen to, this is important, we hear back. Anybody else with any comments? Okay. Yes, please come forward. Would you give your name and your address, and
my name
please
is,
summarize it to about 3 minutes?
Yeah, my name is Dean Johnson. I live at 600 Southwest 14th Street. And I think I've been treated pretty fair by the taxing and assessor's office until the last couple of years, where I've had a big increase in the value of my property, but the property needs a lot of work, and both electrical, plumbing, and structural problems. And also, I'd like to know if, like, the budget for the current county includes tax increment financing for the workforce housing that they're building on Lakeland Drive. They got 382-unit apartment buildings, or 362-unit apartment buildings, I think. Does the county have anything to do with that?
That's a tip with the city of Wilmer. Larry, you want to reply to that? Right.
I could turn it over to.
Okay, thank you.
Turn it out to the treasurer, but the local units of government, like the cities, can set TIFs. We don't have a lot to say with a TIF.
Okay.
What?
Does that,
You said
no,
there's money that is being spent by the county?
When the local units of government put a TIF on that area, that business gets a tax break. We don't have a say whether or not it's given or not. So yes, they get a break on their property tax, not people in TIF districts.
In TIF districts. Then the other idea I had was that Ron Christensen finally expressed an idea about building tiny homes yesterday. And I thought if the county could do something to make lots more affordable through either TIF financing or providing a dollar lot, there'd be a lot of people that are renting in Wilmer that would like to own their own home. And you could make that more possible if you lowered the tax assessments on the properties.
well, thank you for bringing that up. I'd just like to share that. That's been a conversation that we've had with some of the commissioners already. And it's good to hear more about that. You think there's a bigger need for that then?
Yeah, and the mayor said he was interested in building single-family homes, but he failed to say what square footage, and I'm talking about maybe 600 square foot or less. And if the county would approve something like that, is there any land available?
There's land available as well, but I think most of the conversation you're talking about was a conversation with the city of Wilmer and their housing task force, and that was brought up there as well. And that's, I think, where there's some looking at there. But the county is going to be addressing housing, and we have, done it already. And at our board meeting today, we talked about doing some things for making housing more affordable and more available to people. But yes, good comments. Please continue. We can maybe take about 1 more minute, if you would, please.
Yeah, I don't know if I have that much more to say.
Okay.
I guess I have to study the issue a little more.
Okay. Well, thank you, and thanks for bringing that up again about the tiny home concept. Yeah.
I would just like to comment on that. I
Commissioner
have
Nissen, please
3
proceed.
grandsons that live in this area, and I encourage them to try and get into housing rather than renting. And so instead of a rent receipt in their hand, they'll have building some equity. It makes a lot of sense to me. So if we can make that happen, that would be certainly on my agenda. And I know there is someone that is working on a tiny home in the area. Unfortunately, the infrastructure is going to drive the price of that up beyond belief too. So sadly, there's all kinds of hurdles to jump through and hoops to make that happen. But certainly, I look back on my life, mobile home, starter home, another home, and finally in my final home. Well, no, my final home might be out at, I own a lot out in, what's the one on the west end of town? So.
It's called a plot.
That's a plot. But honestly, that we have to be able to provide a way for people to be able to get into their starter homes for something less than, well, we just had a house across the street from me sell for $400,000 and some. And it's a three-bedroom rambler, the way it looks to it from the outside anyway. So valuations are based on what houses are selling for and farmland and everything else. It's gone skyrocketing. And until we get people to wake up and not pay so much for some of those places, that's what's going to happen. So I would be a very big supporter of somehow allowing the young people that are just starting out to be able to have an affordable first home. And that's all I got to say.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Anybody else from the public at this point wish to comment? Commissioner Emdek?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just adding to the comments about valuations, and it's easy to get that valuation that we got here about a month or within the last month, and you open it up and you see the difference between your 2022 valuation and your proposed 2023. The assessors are required by law to be within 95 to 105% of the average sales. Well, in the state of Minnesota, the average valuation of a home in Minnesota was up over 20% last year across the state of Minnesota. Lakeshore is probably closer to 30%. So your valuation goes up, but it's not a guarantee that your taxes go up when the valuations go up. But taxes, government, including counties and townships and cities, are affected by inflation just like we are in our private lives. We're paying more for labor, we're paying more for health insurance, we're paying more for snowplows and snowplow blades, and it's frustrating. 2.9% is probably below the rate of inflation, not that, that
Yeah.
it's just the way the world is.
And unfortunately, and we don't control that, the method that the state has in as far as taxation. And so just because the evaluations go up, and some people's taxes do go up because of evaluations, where the system is, doesn't mean we get any more money, we, say in the county. We still have to do a balanced budget. We still do that budget. It just comes out of different people's money at different rates. And so some people are probably pretty excited because as the more expensive homes get more expensive, or the bigger businesses, they get nailed. And we don't set that. We just have to follow that method. And very complicated, as you well know. And if you talk to Val out there, you would know it too. It's a very complicated system we have to follow. So we can't really set that or change that type of system. So one more time, any further public comments? And at this point then, I would close the public hearing and. Yes, thank you.
Allow me to make that
A
motion.
motion by Commissioner Nissen. Do I have a second for a motion to close the public hearing?
moved, Mr. Chair.
A second by Commissioner Emdek. Any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Now the public hearing is closed. And I'd like to reconvene the Candido County Board of Commissioners meeting. But before we start talking about the budget, I would like to thank everybody again. This was actually very nice to have people here. It keeps us on our toes. We have questions, we have to rethink, and we want to communicate with the public about this and want to hear what they're saying. But we also want to not only hear, but we do want to take action, and it is a concern. And as you all heard, we're really trying our best to keep that budget down as much as possible. And yes, our revenue is larger than the school or larger than the city of Wilmer or Spicer, but we have a whole different program than them. We got 650 miles of road, and it's a whole different program, a landfill and stuff like that. So, but we are conscious of that, and we do want to keep hearing, because it's important that we hear that, to keep our feet to the fire. So thank you. Okay, Commissioners, at this point, we've discussed this budget, and I'd like to talk to Administrator Kleindahl. Do you have?
So, Mr. Chair, for the record, then, the levy, I'm asking the Candido County Board to certify for the 2022 levy. The net levy would be $36,362,370.
Mr. Chair, I move to certify the.
Commissioner Emdek, move to certify the budget. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion about the 2023 budget before I call for the vote? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to say thank you as well, Administrator Kleindahl. Thank you to the department heads. I mean, each year it gets more difficult, as you know. People are concerned, and they rightfully should be concerned about their budgets. We have to watch that bottom line, and I know everybody doesn't want to hear about that, but we do. And thank you so much for what you've done to make this work.
Thank you. And I want to thank the department heads, my last time, to recognize them for the great work they did, putting the budget together. As I said, it's an ongoing process. And I think Commissioner Emdike, many years ago, talked about the creeping and not leaping. And I think we've been very good stewards in doing that. You know, from payloaders that we have to buy, and it takes a year to get a payloader. We ordered one for the landfill that was supposed to have been here in January of 2020. We were hoping to get it yet this year. We won't be getting it until 2023. And of course, it didn't get any cheaper by us waiting. But the department has to look at that every day, and they have to kind of come up. We get one person who is mentally ill that ends up needing care, and they don't meet the payment for the state of Minnesota, and so they end up on the county levy dollars. It doesn't take much to have a $5,000 a day to help care for somebody, where you have kids in out-of-home placements, the parents are on meth, and they're struggling, and it costs $200, $300, $400 a day, plus the treatment that it takes to go through. So there's a lot of factors that go into but the bottom line is, almost all the budget and stuff that we do, it's about people and about public safety. And that's where your dollars are going, and I want to say thank you for being good stewards of putting those funds together. Thank you.
Quick, yeah, I got it.
But Commissioner Nissen,
I wear this suit twice a month. I walk into the garage, bus garage, and I don't know, Bill, Bensky drives bus too. He's an accountant. And immediately when I walk in, he grabs for his wallet. He thinks we're stealing all his money. Well, frankly, if you look at your tax statement, look at the increases. The city of Wilmer has got a larger percentage increase than we do by a fair amount. I'm not picking on the city, but they look at the bottom line, like most people do. They go right to the bottom line, and they don't evaluate what they're seeing. And so that's my 2 cents
yeah,
worth.
we're all into this together, and each government level has different needs and concerns. So any other comments?
I got a phone call from a business owner in New London, property owner that doesn't live in the county, and was taken aback by, this person's a former county commissioner, and he was taken aback by the increase in the taxes. And I said, well, without seeing your statement, I can't really explain where it comes from. And most likely, most of the increase that he was experiencing is because of an excess levy referendum that the New London School District had to pass to stay operating.
Yeah.
And well, Larry uses 23% as the average for or whatever it was, 23.6 for schools. It could have been 40%
In that
for New
district.
London Spicer and 18% for Wilmer, and, somewhere in between for ACGC. So they're all different, and they're specific to you, where your property is located. So,
Yeah, the tax statement is listed out, and you need to look at the percentage increase in each of those line items to know who's hitting you the hardest.
all right, well, I
Anything
would move to adjourn the Truth and Taxation meeting.
We have a motion, move to adjourn. I'll hereby adjourn the Kennedy County Truth and Taxation meeting and the county board meeting. Thank you. All right.